recently, after getting hosed by the local John Deere dealership, just having some hydraulic lines made, they were super expensive and they got it wrong. So to avoid future headache, I bought me a hydraulic hose crimper. This is a cheap eBay, Amazon, Chinese hose crimper. Now when you search these, you'll get all sorts of listings. They all look like pretty much the same tool. So I opted to just get the cheapest one I could find. It was under $600. Now if you're interested in making hydraulic hoses, I have made lots of hoses using these reusable fittings. I've done a video on that. If you're interested, that's a good option, but there are some limitations to those style fittings. Those reusable fittings are very expensive, and there's also not that wide of a selection to use. So if you need an E90s, you're probably not going to get it. If you need a special O-ring type fitting that John Deere loves to use, that's a little harder to find and more expensive as well. Now I opted for the version that came with 8 dies, but they also did offer another version that was 9 dies. So let's set this thing up and use it. Now when you receive your hose crimper, it'll come in a fancy shipping box that is kind of a nice touch. Hopefully to help it keep from getting banged up on its way from China. Came with 2 seals to rebuild the hydraulic crimping portion, which I thought that's a nice addition. Hopefully I'm not foreshadowing a breakdown or something. Maybe that's why they send you with extra seals. Unit came with 4 of these nice rubber mounting pads. It would appear that these little mounting legs, you pull these screws out and reinstall just like that. According to our manual here, this unit weighs 66 pounds. Crimp hose type 1/8 inch all the way up to 1 inch. And we got the 2-stage hand pump. You see this fancy little hook thing here? That is so you can lock, well, it doesn't line up very well. You can lock this handle so it won't pump, and I could see that making it easier to transport. So we're gonna make some replacements for these 2 hoses. So I got here a -8 fitting, which -8 is for 1/2 inch hydraulic hose. But if you look at our chart, you won't find any dashes and you won't see any standard size measurements. Let me tell you how to decipher this. We have our bulk 1/2 inch hydraulic hose. We have our digital caliper, and instead of measuring in inches, we're going to measure in millimeters. Now generally on hydraulic hose sizes, you're measuring the inside diameter of the hose. So the inside diameter of this would be 1/2 inch or roughly 13 millimeters. Instead, we're going to measure the outside of the hose. So the outside of this hose measures at 22 millimeters. Now let's go back to our chart. So here, as we're looking at our chart on the tool, we're going to find 22 millimeters. And if we follow this over, that means we will use the die set 19. Now I'm going to make a cheat sheet for this, but depending on the brand of hose, also how many strands of steel are in the hose, you might be using the die 19 that it calls out here, or you might be using the next size up die. So that's something to just keep in mind. Something silly is, while it calls out the mold or die as 19 for the one that I need to use, the actual number on the die is 5. So that's kind of silly. But if we look over here at our pack of dies, the only number on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. So let's install all of our number 5 die pieces. Just like that. We just have to do that for every location. Now this is very simple, but if you're switching between a lot of different hose sizes constantly, this might be tedious. There is a total of 8 die pieces that we have installed. Now let's see if our fitting even goes in. Look at that. Nice. Now here in the manual, I think I actually like this chart better, so I think I'll cut this out and also install it on the machine, probably right here. But this chart actually shows you a broader number combination, and it also tells us what we need to set our micrometer at. So since we're at 22 millimeters, we need to set our micrometer at 3 millimeters. Now while I am going to demonstrate how to use the micrometer in the crimping portion, about a decade ago I used to work in a shop and we made lots of hydraulic hose using an old dinosaur hydraulic hose crimper machine. You know, something that was built solid. And the only kind of measurement device it had on it was a pressure gauge to tell you how much pressure you were applying to the crimped fitting. And when I worked there, how I was taught was you crimp the fitting till you see 4,000 psi, and that's it. So that's the system that I'm going to be using. Now we used that 4,000 psi crimp pressure rule of thumb for 1/4 inch hose, 1/2 inch hose, 1.5 inch hydraulic hose, and we never had an issue. So it's just something to keep in mind, even though it's not, say, the manufacturer recommendation or what have you. So let's install our fitting onto our hose. Now it's best practice to either mark or put a piece of tape on the hydraulic hose here. That way, in case something happens in the crimping process, and say you crimp the fitting just a little ways onto the hose, well, unless you actually marked the hose, you won't know that, and you could potentially apply a load and blow this fitting right off. Just takes a second. Push the fitting on all the way, mark it with either tape or a paint pen, like so. For our little micrometer light crimping deal to work, we had to install this 9-volt battery into this tray. So positive goes on the side of the tray, just like so. And we plop her in here. We've got a little light test button down here. Make sure that our light is working. Now let's set our micrometer to number 3. Okay. Now before we start pumping, I did check the oil in our hand pumper here. So all you have to do is take this cap off. Simple as that. So let's install our hose in through the back here. Now how I was always taught was to line the die up with the end of the curved part of the fitting. So just like you see here. Now let's get pumping. We are just a smidge under 4,000. Light never came on. I don't know what's up with that, but I would say go ahead and count on not counting on that micrometer and light to really do anything. The number of times I had to pull the handle to crimp that fitting, and it was 110 pumps. That is neither fun nor fast. Now it doesn't take very much effort to pump, but still that's kind of sucks. But I've already anticipated this kind of sucking. I have already ordered an air over hydraulic pump to add. Sorry, there's kids running around. So it's only $100 to buy the Vevor air over hydraulic pump that you can then add to replace this hand pump setup. So some benefits of just keeping the hand pump is the machine is super convenient to load up, take somewhere, and do field work because you don't need any air, you don't need electricity, and you can make a hydraulic line. I'll mostly be making my lines in the shop, so it'd be better to have something powered. Now I will do a video on adding that. So let's talk, did I save any money making this line? So I recently purchased a line the exact same length as this, with the exact same style fittings, same hose diameter and everything, and it cost me $100 to go to John Deere and have them make that line for me. So this line cost me $7 per fitting, so $14 total for that, and it was $1 per foot to buy this bulk hydraulic hose line, so the line cost me $3. So let's do the math there. That is $17. Now I know John Deere might be using the best of the best name brand hose and fittings, while I am using Titan fittings, and I believe this is Vevor hose. But I've looked up the cost of Parker hose and it's not even that expensive. They ain't racking that much up in product cost. I think they just majorly kind of ripped me off. Now I do plan to stock some Parker name brand hydraulic hose for, say, something that's very high risk. There is lots of money to be saved with one of these cheap Chinese hydraulic hose crimpers. I think I am very happy with my purchase of this. It will save me a lot of headache, stress, money, all the bad stuff. You know, generally when you blow a hydraulic hose, you're not in the best of moods. Also, it doesn't usually happen when you have the machine just parked in the driveway or something. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for the video of upgrading this to the air over hydraulic pump that I'll be installing, and I'll try and link some of the products that I used in this video for people who are interested. Just for your viewing pleasure, we're going to do a speed run, see how fast I can crimp this fitting with the manual pump. And go. Oh, okay. Almost a minute and 10 seconds. that was tough. That's a good looking crimp though, ain't it? Whoo! No need to work out today.
Keep thinking.